when I cracked open my front door at 4 in the morning. Hair wild, eyes still sticky with sleep. I swear for a second I thought I was dreaming or maybe losing my mind, because right there in the dark hush of pre-dawn, my empty side lot had somehow transformed into a full-blown wedding venue, all glimmering tents, white folding chairs, neat rows of linens, a stage lit up with string lights. The whole 9 yards right where I usually park my trailer. I just stood there on my porch, barefoot, heart thudding, thinking, you have got to be kidding me. I mean, who wakes up to a wedding on their own property and didn't get so much as a text? Then reality smacked me good and hard. I wasn't invited because apparently I didn't need to be. Nobody had asked. But I was still the owner last I checked. Now you got to picture the neighborhood a little pocket outside. Augusta, Georgia, old Oaks families that wave, and unfortunately a handful of people who make enforcing the rules their whole personality. There's a voluntary HOA, which is a funny way of saying, sure, you don't have to join, but good luck dodging their drama if you don't. I never signed up, never wanted to. I own my house and I own that extra lot next door, kept it open for my construction gear, thinking maybe one day my cousin would want to build there. But apparently the only person who truly saw potential was Cynthia Marshall, our HOA president. If you've never met a real-life Karen, she's your girl, mid-50s pastel sweaters, blonde bob sharper than her glare, always holding a clipboard or an iced coffee, whichever matched her mood. Folks around here joined the HOA just to keep her out of their business. I always figured ignoring her was enough, until it wasn't. The week before this circus, I'd had to drive out for a big job 2 states over. It ran long, should have been home in 3 days, but work got crazy. And in those few days, Cynthia must have seen my empty lot and thought, well, how perfect, just sitting there begging for a wedding. The lucky bride, her daughter Ashley, a walking Pinterest board of demands and glitter, who could go from 0 to Bridezilla in 3 seconds flat. Word got around later that they'd sent out over 200 invites, hired every vendor in the Tri-County area, and even ordered custom cookies with my street name on them like my property was the Ritz. Not once did they ask, because in Cynthia's world, land ownership is just a suggestion. I got home 3 days before the wedding, pulled into my driveway and had to slam the brakes because there was a line of rented porta potties blocking the gravel. I sat in my truck for a second jaw on the floor, walked over to find half a dozen guys unloading chairs, tents going up a catering van idling in my yard. I asked one of the workers, "Hey, what's happening here?" He jerks his thumb across the grass. "Go talk to her." And there she is, Cynthia, strutting around like she owns Buckingham Palace. I take a deep breath and walk up real polite. "Excuse me, what's all this about?" She barely glances at me, cool as ice. "Oh, hi. It's Ashley's big day. We're just setting up." I say, "Right, on my property." She waves it off, says it's just one day, I wasn't using it anyway. Figured I'd be fine with it. Let me back up a sec. This is a woman who once fined her neighbor for leaving their garbage bins out too long. She thinks she's doing me a favor letting me participate by having 100 cars parked on my grass. I'm still trying to stay calm when Ashley marches up, veil in hand, and snaps, "You need to leave. This is private." I almost laugh. "Private? You mean my private property?" Cynthia cuts in, says I'm being unreasonable, that I should be honored, and that I'm invited if I want cake. That's when I laid it out, 24 hours, clear it out, or I'm handling it myself. No yelling, no threats, just the facts. I walked away, hoping maybe a good night's sleep would talk some sense into them. Of course, next morning it's even worse. More flowers, more delivery trucks, like they thought I was bluffing. I sat in my kitchen, coffee in hand, looking out the window, wondering for a minute if I should just let it go, maybe invoice them after, or just laugh it off. But then all those little HOA letters Cynthia's mailed folks over the years flashed in my mind, nasty grams about non-approved paint colors, lawn gnomes, the whole deal. If I backed down, it'd be open season. So I called in my crew, my guys from work, folks who know how to get things done before breakfast. Morning of the wedding, I'm up before dawn, boots on, jacket zipped, adrenaline high. 3 of my best guys are already there. First, we carefully carried everything, tables, chairs, centerpieces, to the very front of the lot, out of harm's way, but off my land proper. Then I got to work. Fired up the backhoe and started digging trenches for a future foundation. Deep ones. Tore up the grass, made the ground so uneven you couldn't set a folding chair straight if your life depended on it. By the time the sun rose, the lot looked like a mini construction site, muddy, messy, absolutely unusable for a wedding. At 7 sharp, here comes Cynthia, storming in heels, binder clutched like a weapon, face white as her cardigan. "What have you done?" she shrieks. I hand her my building permit, all official smile, calm as Sunday morning. "I told you if you didn't clear out, I'd break ground. Welcome to my build site." She loses it, yelling that I've ruined Ashley's wedding, that I owe her thousands for damages, ruined flowers, catering memories, the whole production. She threatens to sue. I say go ahead, but you'll be paying trespassing and cleanup costs too. She storms off and predictably calls the cops. Police roll up and you can practically see Cynthia rehearsing her Oscar speech about vandalism and loss. But the officers just check my permit, my deed, listen to the story and say, "Looks like a civil matter, ma'am. No crime here, no venue contract, nothing in writing on their side." Ashley, the bride, never even shows her face. Guests just stand on the sidewalk holding gifts and staring like they've been punked. Vendors are running around with trays of uneaten appetizers trying to call their bosses. Some people trickle away, others just gawk. The whole thing turns into the world's saddest block party. Over the next week, Cynthia does what Cynthia does, starts telling everyone, "I'm the neighborhood villain, heartless, just plain mean." But word gets around fast, and by the time Sunday rolls around, most folks know exactly what happened. Some start wondering out loud why they're still in the HOA, and a couple even drop out, stop going to meetings, just quietly go about their lives. The HOA starts up the pettiness anonymous letters about illegal construction, noise complaints, all unsigned, but about as subtle as a marching band. I just send copies of my valid permit right back and don't hear another word. Here's the kicker. A few months later, my cousin finally does decide to build on the lot. And like clockwork, Cynthia shows up, smile sweet as Splenda, asking if he'll be joining the HOA. My cousin doesn't even let her finish the sentence, just says absolutely not. I guess she finally got the message. Look, some folks think justice needs a courtroom, a judge in robes, a gavel slamming down. I mean, sometimes justice is a backhoe at dawn and a lesson in boundaries, literal and figurative. When someone tries to take what's yours just because they think they can, you show them what ownership really means. So tell me, was I right to go that far? Or should I have just let the circus roll on and sent a bill later? I'd love to hear where you draw the line between being a good neighbor and standing up for what's yours. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and let's see where folks really stand on community respect and those unwritten rules of living side by side.